Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. The artificial intelligence boom this year has ignited fresh discussions on the legal and ethical ramifications centered on generative AI. If you use AI to create text or pictures, whose intellectual property is it? Does the copyright belong to the person inputting the text prompt, the AI, or the data that it was trained on? Right now, there's no definitive answer. And that's especially troubling for creatives who rely on the eye of the beholder to give their work value. Some are taking their concerns to court. Sare has their story.
Surreal, ethereal, and feminine. That's how Kelly McKernan describes their work. With bright pinks, purples, and greens, it deals with the discomfort in the human journey. And lately, this artist's journey has also been threatened by something inherently inhuman: artificial intelligence.
I found that my name had been used just last year alone over 12,000 times, which discovering that as a single mom and struggling artist was pretty upsetting to find out that there are these companies profiting off of my name and my work. So I started to do a lot of research, find out like, how did this even happen? How are they making this happen? Why does this feel so gross and violating?
McKernan is one of the 3 illustrators suing AI image generators Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, and the portfolio platform DeviantArt for copyright infringement. AI's ability to create art exploded in the past year, and it did so by using real artists' works to train its algorithms. Now, the creatives are striking back to get what they're owed. They want control, consent, and compensation for all artists.
Not a single artist was consented. Not a single one agreed to their work being scraped off the internet and used by a company to profit from and take essentially work away from us. Because what's going to stop somebody from typing in my name when they want to hire me for a book cover but they don't have the money? So they're instead going to pay a subscription and just make something close enough. And that's a job that would have otherwise helped me pay my rent.
The US government has been trying to make sense of the shifting landscape in the world of art. In mid-July, the Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing on artificial intelligence and intellectual property rights. Carla Ortiz, a digital artist and one of the 3 plaintiffs, was called as a witness.
They used my example a lot, and it seems like, I was able to bring the plight of my community, and I was able to put a human face to that. Because it's one thing to say, oh, it took from artists, but whatever. But then when you hear someone say, it took from me, it took everything I've ever worked for, and it took it without ever asking me, without ever giving me a penny, like, it's deeply, deeply immoral and unfair.
While the trio's lawsuit is far from over, it's already testing the boundaries of copyright law. And the results will form an ethical foundation for how AI tools will be trained going forward.
Marco Landi joins us now from Nice. He's the founder and chairman of Europea Institute. Landi is also the former COO of Apple and a former president at Texas Instruments. Marco, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, what do you think? Should generative AI models be allowed to train on copyrighted work?
Yes, and this is becoming more and more a problem. And unfortunately, still the legislation to control, to legislate on that is still not at the level that it should be. And if you even look at the European AI Act that has been discussed at the European Parliament just recently, has not been able to catch up with all the difficult and the new things and the problems that generative AI is posing to artists, to everybody that is creating and publishing content in the net.
It feels like governments are playing catch up. The regulations clearly aren't there yet. What sort of guardrails do you think should be put in place?
Now, you know that the European Union put the GRDP, but unfortunately, even that is very difficult to control. Everybody now is understanding the importance to spend more time, more resources in order to protect the artist, the owner of the content. But technology is going so fast, and legislation cannot go at the same level as the growth of the technology.
There's massive opposition to AI in many industries, like in the Hollywood strikes, for example, and in fields like journalism, my industry. Now, how do we strike the right balance in ensuring progress in the AI sector while minimizing its impact on various fields?
You know, every new technologies is creating disruption. And particularly, this technology, the generative AI, is creating major disruption. I fully understand the position of the people in Hollywood, particularly those that are the writers, the people that are creating the different series, TV series. But the problem is that at this moment, there are no tools to really make sure that you protect the owner of the content, the people that have generated that content, and the people that, particularly the big tech, that are using that tech. It will take some time. It will require many more people, particularly from the juridic system, to secure that you can strike a balance between the two different positions. But one thing is sure, and I think that the people in the Hollywood need to understand it first. There is a new technology. This technology cannot be stopped. You cannot just say, stop ChatGPT, stop OpenAI. This is impossible.
Okay, so we've spoken about the controversial aspects of AI. Let's talk about the good. You were the CEO for Apple and were at Texas Instruments for over 2 decades. How has AI improved operations in big firms like those?
At that time, we didn't use very much artificial intelligence. In fact, we didn't even call it artificial intelligence. We call it expert system, because we thought that call it artificial intelligence would have been probably scaring the people. And in fact, that is the situation. Many people today are scared when you talk about artificial intelligence. That is the reason why I have created the Institute Europea, Intelligence Artificielle, artificial intelligence, in order to make sure that the people better understand what is artificial intelligence, understand the problem that can create, but also the huge benefits that artificial intelligence is giving. At Apple, the first usage we did of artificial intelligence has been Siri. Siri has been created using artificial intelligence, but that came just later, after 2000. Before, it was not used. And even a Texas Instrument, we used some system for the banks, for the enterprises, but they were not fully artificial intelligence. They were expert systems that were using the knowledge of people, translated into data, and then used that data to create algorithm to help, for example, banker to better provide a loan to their customer instead of going into many details, having a system that would help, would make it faster and better decision.
Crypto culture and fashion. Sounds like 2 very different worlds, right? Well, not quite. There's always been an element of fashion in Web3 and NFTs, and we'll get to more of that later on in the show. But the real-life applications of that haven't been so widespread yet. That's about to change as more and more luxury brands start using blockchain technology to fight counterfeits. Brands like Prada and Louis Vuitton are uploading their products to the blockchain so that their customers can verify their authenticity. This way, even if, say, a designer bag changes hands, the new owner can trace the piece and make sure it's not a knockoff. This is especially significant as the younger generations value sustainable fashion and prefer buying designer items secondhand, if ever. It's also a way to put an end to the pirated items market, which makes up to 2.5% of global trade. And there's more emerging tech can offer to the luxury fashion industry.
Right now, when Gucci sells one of their bags, they only make money off the initial sale to the customer. But what happens if that same customer sells that bag to someone else? Well, Gucci will make $0 on the secondary sale, but NFTs are going to change this. If Gucci's products were tokenized into NFTs, they would be able to set rules on secondary sales. Rules like they will receive 10% of any sale that occurs after the initial sale to the customer. So when Jackie buys a Gucci bag for $1,000, and then sells it to Sally for $900, Jackie will receive $810 from the sale, while Gucci will collect their 10%, which is $90. The potential profit for Gucci is too high for them to ignore NFTs.
All right, on to what's trending. And it's a clothing brand without clothes. Sounds a bit like the folktale The Emperor's New Clothes, right? But I can assure you, those buying creations from fashion brand The Fabricant aren't purchasing invisible clothes. In fact, the brand says it's selling the ultimate couture experience. The catch? You can only wear its designs in the metaverse. Sarah reports.
What would you wear in the metaverse? The options are limitless. You can break fashion rules and wear clothes that seemingly defy gravity. And it's with designs like this that Dutch fashion house The Fabricant is elevating the Web3 experience. Niall Cottrell is one of the designers behind The Fabricant's boundary-pushing looks. After working for renowned brands like LVMH, Versace, and Alexander McQueen, he decided to trade in his sewing kit and scissors for a laptop and mouse.
When you work in physical fashion, you're constantly surrounded by physical objects. You know, you have fabrics next to you, you need a space to work in. You have this kind of physical requirement to a space. Whereas when I work digitally, I could take my laptop, I could fly to America, I could work there for a week, I could stay there, I could go to somewhere else in the world and work from there. So it gives me a certain freedom and flexibility that I quite like.
Founded in 2018, The Fabricant is the world's first digital-only fashion house. It's created digital collections for brands like Adidas, Timberland, and Off-White, just to name a few. And visitors at Amsterdam's Next Museum are having a blast trying on new styles.
I find it very, very interesting and exciting. It is something new, and I think it's good for the fashion industry to shake it up a little bit.
Aside from kitting out metaverse avatars, The Fabricant has a vision of making the traditional fashion industry more eco-friendly. The company says its virtual reality platform could be something adopted by big brands. Customers would be able to try on clothes virtually, meaning fewer pieces need to be manufactured in the physical world.
There's a big problem with the physical fashion industry where actually a lot of the clothing ends up in landfills. Now, digital fashion can come into play with that because we can start generating data of how many items, how many physical items we can be creating for physical fashion brands. So they're not constantly creating an abundant amount of physical clothing that just gets thrown away.
I believe that the next 2 years are going to be the phase where more and more people outside of the Web3, outside of the technical understanding and the excitement about the technology, will be adopting digital fashion in their daily lives.
And as mainstream adoption of digital fashions picks up, the leading Web3 couture house says it'll continue to let its creative spirit run wild with drops that push the boundaries of imagination.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.